everyone. Welcome to Storytime and Sea Clip. You might recall that yesterday Oberon gave us a clue, a groundhog, and today is Groundhog Day. It's also a special birthday too, but the story today is going to be Gretchen Groundhog, It's Your Day. Okay, it was a dark and snowy night, and Gretchen Groundhog sat in her burrow and she was worrying. In a few days, it would be February 2nd, when the world would be watching the little town that she lived in. On that day, for the first time, Gretchen would step from her burrow to stand around before TV cameras and newspaper reporters, tourists, all the people in the village, and a big brass band. Everyone would be waiting to see if Gretchen saw her shadow. For as long as she can remember, it had been Great Uncle Gus who had searched for a shadow before that anxious crowd. If he saw it, it would be a roar of disappointment, for this meant that winter would last 6 more dreary weeks. The band would play slow, sad music, and Gus would trudge back into his burrow. But if there were no shadow, the band would play a lively tune, and everyone would hug and cheer because spring would be around the corner. But now, Great Uncle Gus was very old, and he had come up to Gretchen, his only relative, and asked her to carry on. "I can't do it," Gretchen said. "I'm too shy. I can't stand there with everyone looking at me." "You can do it," said Great Uncle Gus. "The first time is always the hardest." But Gretchen knew she could not go out. "Gretchen's not going out?" The news flashed through town. "What will we do?" all the villagers said. On January 30th, there was a story about Gretchen on the front page of the paper. "Everyone puzzled," the headline read, and the story continued. "There has always been Groundhog Day, but this year it seems that Gretchen Groundhog will not go out. How will we plan if we don't know what or when winter will come or when winter will stop?" The townspeople stopped Gretchen on the street. They peppered her with questions. "Should we buy more salt to put on icy roads?" they asked. The father asked, "Shall I chop more wood for my family?" "Will the bears stop hibernating?" asked a little boy. "Please," everyone begged, "please, dear Gretchen, go out on Groundhog Day. Tell us that winter will end." But Gretchen only shook her head. On January 31st, Gretchen lit a cheery fire, but it didn't help her mood. All day the doorbell rang and the phone rang and emails erupted and urgent letters were slid under her door. She felt terrible. It seemed like the longest day of her life. On February 1st, the town was in an uproar. Tourists filled the motels. In front of Gretchen's burrow, cameramen were holding up signs. There were wooden stands for the crowd. TV crews arrived, and the newspaper read, "Town panics," because Gretchen was not going to come out. Oh no. Knock, knock, knock. 3 townspeople were waiting when Gretchen opened her door. You must try," said the mayor. "There's always been a Groundhog Day." "Dear Gretchen, I'll stand behind you," said the chief of police. "I'll make you famous," said the editor of the newspaper. But Gretchen only shook her head. All afternoon and evening, visitors came. "Knock, knock, knock. Gretchen, are you there? Knock, knock." That night, weary and sad, Gretchen fell asleep in her rocking chair. But even in her dreams, she heard people knocking. Gretchen awoke. The knocking didn't stop. Maybe it wasn't a dream. Maybe it was. She hurried and looked out. There stood a little girl. It was Hester, the town historian's daughter. "May I come in?" Hester asked. Gretchen opened the door, and she helped Hester take off her coat and her soggy mittens and her boots. I'm not going to stay long, Hester said. I wanted you to see these. I found them while I was helping my mom clean up. She held out a wooden box with some yellow pieces of paper. And Gretchen noticed old-fashioned writing. What are they? Records from our town history, said the little girl. So while Great Uncle Gus made some steaming cocoa, Gretchen started to read the papers. Tomorrow must go out to stand before the Pilgrims and the Indians. I'm greatly afraid. And it was signed Goody Groundhog. Gretchen was amazed. Goody Groundhog lived such a long time ago. She came to America on the Mayflower. My mother says that Goody told everyone the second winter would be better than the first. They were so happy, said Hester. Gretchen leafed through the papers. Here's one by George Groundhog at Valley Forge, she said. He said, I'm afraid to go out, but I shall. The winter has been long and hard. The soldiers must know what will be. My mother told them that George said that the winter would go on a long time. Everyone was sad, but they were prepared. As Gretchen read through the papers, she became more and more excited. There was a page from General Grant Groundhog, who had fought in the Civil War, and Jean Groundhog, a tough cowboy, and Gloria Groundhog, who became a movie star. They were all afraid to go out, Gretchen said. She read the last piece of paper. I'm scared, but tomorrow I will try to go out. And it was signed, Gus Groundhog. You, said Gretchen to Great Uncle Gus. Her great uncle looked surprised. Then a dreamy look came into his eyes. It was so long ago I almost had forgotten. Now I remember. I couldn't eat or sleep the night before. What happened then? Asked Gretchen. My great uncle Grover helped me out. He said, you can do it, Gus. The first time is always the hardest. The clock began to chime. 9, 10, 11, 12. They counted together. Oh my gosh, I've got to go, Hester said. I've never stayed up so late. Thank you for everything, Hester, Gretchen said, and she gave her a big hug. Gretchen went to bed, and she was quietly lying in the darkness, and she thought about the next morning and about all the people who would gather and the TV cameras and the news reporters. She turned on the light and she wrote a few lines on a piece of paper and she put it in the history box, and then she closed her eyes and fell asleep. Gretchen's dreams were very peaceful. She was awakened by the sound of voices and streaks of the band that was starting to practice. She put on her coat and her muffler and her boots and her mittens. She took a deep breath. You can do it, she whispered to herself, and Gretchen Groundhog flung open the door and she stepped out into the February morning. And sure enough, the next day, Gretchen came out. They read on the newspaper, and she told them that it was going to be spring very soon. So we could hope for that too, right? And this is so funny. I have to show you this groundhog that Oberon gave us. If it's going to be a long 6 more weeks of winter, this is what she wears, a muffler and a long fleece shirt. However, if it's going to be spring very soon, this is what she wears. Oh, look, sunglasses and a little swimsuit. Yep. So I don't know. What do you think tomorrow's going to tomorrow? What do you think the rest of the month of February is going to be? Is it going to be snowy or is it going to be nice and warm? All right. Thank you very much, Oberon. I loved it. It was a wonderful story and a wonderful clue. And we have a wonderful girl to celebrate her birthday today. It's Riley. Riley started coming to the library for Story Hour when she was just a baby. And now she's a big girl, and we know that she loves vanilla. So I'm hoping that the cake is going to be a vanilla cake. I don't know. We never know until we count the votes. Let's count the votes. All right. So for chocolate, we have Molly, Alice, and Jolene. We have Martha and James and Anna, Wesley, Ben, Bee, Bevy, Tate, Sophia, India, Eliza, Peggy, Angelica, and who else? Let's see. Is there somebody I'm missing? Oh, Hannah and Patrick. All right. So for vanilla, we have Clara, KJ, Scarlett, Rafa, Henry, Rocky, Teddy, Joseph, Christopher, Harris, Maya, Marta, Graham, Audrey, Lila, Hudson, Marlo, Maxine, Lucy, Frida, and Riley. She's hoping so. It's vanilla. Let's count. 22 for vanilla. I think it's going to come out vanilla. I think so. All right, chocolate. 1, 2, 18 for chocolate. Good, good, good. Riley gets her wish. It will be a vanilla cake. All right, let's sing. All right, let's go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Riley. Happy birthday to you. Okay, very good. Do you have a clue for tomorrow? All right, let me look. Yep. We have a lovely clue, a lovely little owl. All right. Thank you very much, Cameraman Dan. Oh, and a happy Groundhog Day to every one of you. Thank you, Oberon. And remember, I love you all very, very much.